Hi there, I'm Jorge Ortiz and I'm a developer evangelist for Oracle. In this video, I'm going to share how to set up an environment to work with Rust and the Oracle database. We will be using the Oracle crate and the Civil crate. And we are going to need a container. And that is going to be our first step. We're going to launch a container with Oracle AI DB26 AI. And then we will install the drivers that the crates need in order to talk to the database. Then I will put some data into the database that we can use later on to make queries and modify the parameters of the database in a way that we can do things like performing vector search or allowing our user, the one that we create with the sample schema, to create and delete tables. This is going to be very easy, and after this video there are going to be others that will explain step by step how to do the Rust code that will take care of connecting to the database and performing all the operations that we need. So we're going to run some Rust code that will be querying the database, and in order to do that we need a container that will be running the database. In this case, it's going to be the AI DB26 AI, and I'm going to run it in a container. So we start by verifying whether Colima is up and running, and in this case, it is. And then we launch the container. In this case, this is going to be using the latest version, the AI DB26 AI, and we will be using this db-free for the name. Okay, in the next videos, I'm going to be writing code with Rust to talk to the Oracle database. And I will be using two different crates. One is the Oracle crate, and the other one is the Civil crate. The Oracle crate and the Civil crate, they both need drivers to be able to talk to the database, but they use a different level of drivers. So the Oracle crate uses the ODPI-C driver, which is a higher level, it's an open source library that is written on top of the OCI, the Oracle Call Interface, which is a lower level driver, and that is the one that is used by the Civil crate. In any case, you have to go to the Oracle Instant Client downloads for your operating system. I'm using a Mac operating system here, so you will have to download either the basic DMG or the basic light DMG. The main difference between one and the other is that basic DMG includes every error message for every language, while the basic light driver only includes the English error messages. So choose whatever you want, but click on one or the other and start downloading them. Now that I have downloaded the drivers, I have to store them in a place where we can use them later. And I'm going to do that by mounting the file that I have downloaded. So I use HDI-util to mount the file, but you can also double click on the file that you have downloaded from the web page. Once I have issued this command, I get this file mounted into this directory that you see in the last line here. And I'm going to create a new directory that is where I'm going to hold the Oracle files for the driver. And I tend to use /bin for the binaries that I have created or that I downloaded that don't belong to the system exactly, and I use /bin Oracle here because this is for the Oracle drivers. So I copy the contents of this directory that I mounted into this new directory that I have created, and I need to tell the dynamic loader where these files are, because when the binaries that I will create with Rust start running, they need to be able to find the dynamic libraries here. So I need to define this new environment variable that is the YLD library path that points to the directory where I have copied the dynamic libraries. It is also important that if you use the Civil crate, not the Oracle crate, just the Civil crate, you will also need to define the Rust flags environment variable. And that is because it needs to link against that lower level OCI driver. If you plan to do this, the most convenient way to get these variables is to have them defined in your shell, whatever it is. But particularly the first one, because the second one is only needed for compiling with RustC or with the cargo tool. In any case, the shell is my preferred option. Just put it in the configuration of your shell and you will be done. We will need some data with the code that we plan to write with Rust. And I'm going to use the sample schemas that are provided by Oracle for free. You have the URL in the notes of this episode, and I have already downloaded the file. So I'm going to go to the TMP directory, and there I'm going to uncompress the file. Once the file has been uncompressed, you have to go to the customer orders directory, and this is the schema that we plan to apply, and there I'm going to connect to the Oracle DBA 26AI container that we started at the beginning of this video, and I'm going to do that as sysdba because we're going to need some privileges for the operations that I'm going to do next. So I have used SQL-CL. I installed it using Homebrew. You can use the same URL that we use for the drivers, your choice. And what I'm going to do there first is to modify some of the configuration that we will need when we write some vector search code. That's a modification of the parameters for the vector memory size. And I'm going to exit the SQL-CL and I'm going to restart the container. Okay. Now that we have ready the container with this new parameter set up, we're going to create the data. And I'm going to connect again to the Oracle container. And I'm going to use CO. I have used CO for the password, and I am using the user's table space for the data, and I want to override the schema. Well, I mean, there's nothing there, so yes, we can override it, and hopefully it will finish and you will have some data in there. Now that I have the data, I'm going to connect with the user that I have just created, and I'm going to make a simple query to verify that everything goes fine, and that is going to be a query over the products table, and it answers with the expected data, that is this gross code color blue, and with a unit price $13.09 or whatever. Okay, so you can also do some other stuff here, like describing the tables or getting information about that table. But just check the tables, check the schema, check the data, and feel comfortable with it because we are going to need to use that in a moment. So I exit of this session and I'm going to connect again, but this time using sysdba again, and I am going to verify that the parameter that I modified at the beginning is properly set up, and it is 512 megabytes, as I said when I set it up, and I'm going to modify the configuration for the CO user, the one that I will be using as an unprivileged user of the database. I want it to be developer, and that is basically the things that I'm going to change. So we're done. Okay, so this has been it. We have launched the container, we have installed the drivers in our system in a way that we can use them later from the crates. we have put some data into the database, and we have modified both the parameters of the instance and the configuration of the user that we will be using, that is an unprivileged one. So we are ready to go and create some Rust code. But that will be in our next video. So stay curious, hack your code, see you next time.